Okay. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. Before we move on, it's important and necessary to pause and get some things clear. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about God's plan. We've been talking about answering the call for help, answering the call for love. And in order not to be confused, I want it to be clearly understood that what we've been discussing, especially in the current chapter, is, whether you've thought about it or not, the question of whether you're going to be honest, whether you're going to be honest. In other words, the subject has been each of you, not the one you would help. Now, all of you, in one way or another, as you go through your day, are trying to fulfill a concept you have of yourself. You have a goal for yourself. You have a certain thing you want to be in the world. And for the most part, you do everything you can to be consistent with the manifestation of that picture or concept you have of yourselves. And to be very blunt with you, when you're doing that, you're not being honest. Because a picture of who you are, a concept of who you are, what you want everyone else to see you as, isn't you. You know, we can get all caught up in flowery, wonderful spiritual words, but if they're going to mean anything, they've got to relate to you and to where you are and to what is really true about you, so that you are able to abandon the pictures of yourselves that you're trying to present and can be yourself honestly. And so what we've been reading about, although it relates to your brother and your capacity to be an agent for change and to respond to a call for help, the focus has been on whether, before you respond, you've moved into a place of honesty within yourselves where you have abandoned concepts you have built up about the one who is calling for help. Are you coming from a place of innocence within you, which is another way of saying a place of genuineness in you where you are not violating your own integrity, your own already existing absolute divine integrity, by inserting a picture of yourself between that and your brothers and sisters that you emphasize and thereby cover up who you genuinely are. Now, the ego will use everything that the Course says for its own purposes. and will use everything I say for its own purposes if you're not alert, if you're not honest, if you're not more interested in the truth than in anything else. And so when I say that you want to be able to come from a place of genuineness and honesty, I'm not talking about honestly expressing exactly what you feel. I'm not talking about how you as an ego, as a concept, as a product of your families and your society's upbringing. I'm talking about something prior to that. I'm talking about something more fundamental than that. I'm talking about the integrity you have that is inseparable from you, that is, I'm going to say, at the root of the act of God that appears as you, as your experience of being conscious. You all know the truth. You all know the ultimate. But you think that you have to cooperate with everyone, and that everyone has to cooperate with you according to interpretations and definitions that all of you have made up together. Interpretations and definitions that allow you to create an image of yourself. But you know what? The image isn't what has created the image. You are what has created the image. But once having created the image and giving preference to it, that which made up the image fades into the background. And the image cooperates with all of the other images and abides by all of the structures and rules that all of these images have created together so that they can seem to exist in relative harmony. The honesty that is being called for here in the Course has to do with your being willing to abandon the image and the goals you have for that image so that you might get to the bottom line of you, where it's ultimately easy for you to express yourself without violating yourself, without abandoning your integrity. From that place, everything you say and everything you do will be constructive and will be healing. What you need to be clear on so that you don't become confused is that what we have been discussing so far in this chapter has nothing to do with anyone else. It has to do with the necessity of your doing something before you get involved in a healing fashion with someone else. And that is, get behind and underneath the images you're trying to portray. It also means abandoning concepts other people have of you. abandoning an intent you have to live up to another's expectations that fulfill their concept of you. Because as long as you're doing that, you are ingenuine, deceitful, dishonest. Because it's all a manipulative game and nothing more. And healing cannot be the result. And your awakening can't be the result. And your peace cannot be the result of that. And an even more remote form of this is where you are not trying to live up to a concept someone else has of you, where you're not trying to fulfill a concept someone else has of you, but where you're not trying to fulfill a concept someone else has of themselves. Now, what do I mean? I mean, for example, as a parent or a teacher, that you might have expectations of a child or a pupil. And that expectation of them is to fulfill your concept of yourself as a teacher, as a parent. You are relying upon your child or your pupil to provide proof of your value as a parent or a teacher. And if you're the child or if you're the student who is trying to fulfill your parents' or your teacher's concept of themselves, you're even less honest, and you're even more confused, and you're even more buried in illusion. And what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks has to do with stepping back, getting behind, getting underneath, all of that. So that you're coming from that place in you which puts up with no bullshit. Because it itself isn't interested in bullshitting with everyone else. Even though all of you know how to do this real well and do it every day. So, when it says, the Course, that it's essential for you to see a call for help or a call for love as a call for love, even though the call for love comes forth as negative or abusive or unkind behavior, even though it apparently comes forth as attack, or comes forth as an invitation for you to become frightened on behalf of the one with the problem. When it says that you are to see it as a call for love instead of what it appears to be, instead of what the one calling for love hopes you will see it as. It means that it is essential for you, before you respond, to be unwilling to abandon your commitment to seeing them from where? From the bottom line, genuine honesty of your being, with a capital B. And I say that so that you might understand clearly that I'm talking about your coming from that place of divine excellence in you that is not confused, because it insists upon seeing nothing but the truth, God's truth, if you will, the real truth, and not be sucked into a judgment about that person that would interpret the call for help as something else, such as an act of aggression by an ungodly presence that doesn't deserve your respect. You see, we have been talking about the use you, as the one hearing the call for love, are putting your mind to, so that you might remain steadfastly anchored in your unwillingness to see anything other than the truth, even though you've been invited to see something else there and react to it. We have not as yet been talking about what happens after that. We have not yet been talking about how to be an agent for change. But how to use your mind so that what follows, the right use of your mind, can be that which heals, that which helps. So again, we have been emphasizing the necessity of honesty on your part. Now, because there is and has been so much emphasis in the last couple of weeks in what we've been reading on the call for love and the need to respond with love, and because it is so easy for the ego to twist the meaning of what's being said, we need to become clear on some other points. The first thing is, you must be willing to wonder what the words mean that we're using. A call for love. What does that mean? In practical terms, what is love? There's a call for love. In other words, unlovely behavior occurring, ignorant behavior occurring. And you say, oh, I can see she needs love. Oh, love is what's needed here with him. And then perhaps you sort of conjure up rosy, soft, pinkish feelings of softness and affection, and you sort of whirl it out around them and let it embrace them, and you consider them in this sweet fog of love. You know what? It's time for everybody to grow up spiritually or metaphysically. There was a day when everybody was thoroughly enjoying the statement, every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And people walked around saying this like a mantra. And allowing themselves to embrace the feeling of that. But you know what? If you're not breaking the habits of bad behavior, and you're not changing, you can't get better and better just because you're saying, every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. You can't get better if ignorance hasn't been replaced with understanding. You can't be getting better if you're still having the same old problems, but they're not bothering you like they used to. Let's not be caught up in spiritual vagueness. It's all relevant and it's all practical. Somebody says, well, you know, if so-and-so is behaving in this bad way and they don't want to accept the help that's being offered, they just need more love. Well, what in the hell does that mean? If you ask that person what that means, you're either going to get an honest answer that says, you know, I really don't know what that means, or they're going to give you some of this soft pink, foggy, vague nonsense. If you want to know what a call for love means, change the word love to intelligence. It's a call for intelligence. Change the word to understanding. It's a call for understanding. It's a call for the one receiving the call to express intelligence where there has been confusion, an apparent lack of intelligence operating, so that the intelligence replaces the ignorance with that which is meaningful, with directions that are practical, that solve the problem, that bring about the necessary change from the behavior that was creating a bad experience into intelligent behavior that manifests as healing, as miracles, as problems disappearing. But the word love is such a catchword for nebulous nonsense. Just wrap them up in love and hold them there in your mind. See their perfection. Bullshit. If you want to see their perfection, see it, and then express it and make a demand for it to be expressed by them. Be the push, as it were, that motivates them to behave according to the perfection of themselves that hasn't gone anywhere, but which they've abandoned for whatever reason. And if you express intelligence in response to the call for intelligence / love, and they say, I won't have anything to do with it, then you express a little bit more intelligence / love, even though it's not sweet, nebulous, pink fluff. And you say, you know, if you're not willing to change the way you're thinking, if you're not willing to change your behavior, you are going to have exactly the experience you're having now that you're complaining about. I can't make that change in behavior for you. I cannot decide to abandon the uses you've put your mind to for you. But I can tell you that nothing is going to change until you do that. That's love. Because that's intelligence. And that doesn't take the power away from them. And it doesn't allow them to continue to think that something outside of their own decision to behave differently will solve their problem. And so you have been the presence of clarifying truth. Clarifying truth that doesn't mislead them in any way away from where the solution lies and what the solution is. Know the truth about them. Know the truth about them. Remember God's truth about them. And project it toward them and embrace them in it. Because minds are joined. Well, what kind of truth are you talking about projecting toward them? What kind of truth are you talking about embracing them in? If it isn't the truth that clearly points them to where the problem lies and how it can be corrected there. And that you can't do it for them. And therefore they must stop looking to you to do it for them. And they must stop blaming you for not doing it for them. And they must know that you're not fooled in any way into believing that you must somehow be able to do it. We just read last week that whether a brother is expressing love, which is real, or a call for love, your only correct response can be appreciation. Oh boy, can the ego have fun with that? Because the one who's behaving badly and suffering from their bad behavior, that's their favorite song. That's their favorite mantra. If you would just accept me for who I am. If you would just appreciate me as I am. And so they glom onto that. The only appropriate response to them, whether they're making a call for love or an expression of love, is appreciation. But you see, this is where it can be confusing if you don't understand that what we've been reading has to do only with you, the one standing in receipt of the call for love, and the necessity for you to be clear in your own mind, absent your own agendas for that person, or that kind of person. Yes. Appreciate your brother, whether they're expressing love or extending a call for love. Why? Because it provides you with the opportunity to reaffirm or confirm your willingness to only come from the bottom line honesty of your being.